Was it an awesome experience? Yes. Great. Well, we're really happy to be here this morning to talk to you guys a little bit more about Career Center and what we do. I know we talked briefly about resumes a few weeks ago, but there's a lot more to the Career Center than just the resumes. One of the big things that we work with first-year students on is career exploration. So helping you guys figure out what you want to do. And some of you may have a general idea of what you want to do. Some of you may be very specific. I know I want to do this particular career, help me get there. Some may have no idea, and that's okay. Wherever you are in this process, there's no right or wrong, but we're here to help you figure it out, walk with you through that journey. So we're going to do a quick activity just to kind of think about what it takes to explore different careers, what types of things you want to consider when you're choosing what career or major you want to go into. All right, so you guys ready to move around a little bit? A little bit? Sure. All right, so in a minute, well, you're just going to while standing up and sitting down. You brought your little virus. Right. Yeah. So we're going to have everybody in just a minute stand up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through several characteristics of one career. Now, when I get to a characteristic that you're like, nah, deal breaker, that's not going to work for me, I want you to sit down. Once you sit down, you cannot stand back up. And then, at the end of that one career, we're going to talk about what career do you think it is? Why did you sit down when you did, or why did you stay standing? Sound good? Make sense? All right, everybody stand up. All right, first characteristic, I want to help people. I would expect nothing less from this group. Awesome. I want to go to graduate school for only 2 years. I want to get a master's degree for only 2 years.
So only 2?
So you'll graduate from college and then you'll spend 2 years in graduate school. If that sounds like that'd be a good fit for you, stay standing. Okay. Yeah, either way, if you don't mind.
I'm open to the idea.
All right, you're open to the idea. Yeah, good. Okay. All right. I want to have the flexibility to work in several specialty areas.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I can make over $90,000 a year. Yes. I can prescribe medication. I report to a physician.
Everybody's like,
Okay. All right. So those that are standing, what career is this? Physician assistant. That's correct. It's a physician assistant. Okay. So everyone can sit down. So those that sat down when you did, what was it that made you sit down?
2 years of undergrad?
All right. Let's do one at a time. Right here. The 2 years. The 2 years. Okay. So you already knew I'm going to med school. I know it's going to take more than 2 years. Okay. What else? Why did you sit down when you did?
The subordination.
Okay.
yeah, pretty much.
So you don't want to report
No.
to anyone. Okay.
Subordination.
All right. What about those of you that stayed standing? What was it about that appealed to you?
I didn't really see anything negative with any.
Okay.
I wouldn't be opposed to any of it.
You wouldn't be opposed, so you didn't see anything negative. All of that sounded good to you. Okay, great. What else? Why did you stay standing?
I mean, like, it's not necessarily what I want because I want to be a doctor, but I'm not gonna, that doesn't sound bad at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So similar to a doctor, doesn't sound too bad at all. Okay. Anything else? All right, so it sounds like some of the big things were, I don't want to report to anyone. If I'm a doctor, I don't have to report to anyone. Is that true?
No.
Who do doctors report to?
Chief of surgery.
Other doctors. Yeah. Yeah, checks and balances, chief of staff. Okay. nursing setting. What else? See patients. Yep. Has anyone in here ever seen a PI instead of their physician? Or a nurse practitioner? Very similar. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just some things to consider. Exploration. All right. You want to do another one? Sure. Okay, stand up. All right. I want to give advice to my patients. I want doctors to come to me for consultations. I am detail-oriented, and I want to use my background in chemistry and biology in my career. I am okay with standing most of the day. I may have to work weekends, nights, or holidays. I have the potential to make over $100,000 annually.
I'll stand on my head.
A large percentage of the people in my occupation work in a retail setting. Retail.
What's retail? Retail.
All right. Okay. What career is this? Pharmacist. Correct. Good. Very good. Very good. All right. So those that stayed standing. What made you stay standing for this one? Yeah.
My pharmacist drives a Ferrari, so that's why I said.
Okay. All right. So earning potential. All right. What else? What appealed to you about pharmacy? Yeah.
Not necessarily pharmacy, but like the component that some of us, a lot of us sat down regarding like most of us were retail or what was the statement?
A large percentage of those in this occupation work in retail.
Yeah, and that to me makes it like, okay, well, pharmaceuticals, drug distribution, things like that. So, I mean, I feel like that gives you a very broad range or, you know, a very large capacity to help people as well.
Yep. All right, those of you that sat down, so it was retail setting seemed to be a big one. Why was that? Yeah.
That's just not the environment that I want to be in, like I would rather work in a hospital.
Okay, great. And pharmacists clearly do have that option, but there are lots of different places to get jobs as pharmacists. But great, environment's a big key when thinking about a career. Yeah.
I mean, I stayed standing up, but I always feel really weird when I go to CVS and the guy who checks me out behind the counter is the pharmacist who's just there all the time, so he ends up being at the counter too. I'm like, you were in college for a long time to bring up my soap.
Okay.
Like,
All right.
It's just, it seems like some extra things come with it that I
Okay.
don't really go for the degree.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well, as soon as you heard that the others were around you in retail, you already know, you make the connection, pharmacy, and you're like, well, don't really want to be a pharmacist, so that kind
Okay.
of cuts you off right there.
Okay. What about the actual work that pharmacists do? So what do pharmacists do on a daily basis? What's kind of the most obvious one?
Prescriptions.
Make drugs, count pills. What else do they do?
I have a question though, because do actual pharmacists, are they the ones developing new drugs? Or do they just distribute? Yeah, that's just like a subfield, I would say.
It's a great question.
Specific, but CVS pharmacist or Walgreens pharmacist doesn't have like the jurisdiction to actually make a medication.
Some do actually.
Really?
We learned a lot about this at a recent conference where pharmacists that work at Walgreens, that work at CVS, if you need a specialized lip balm or lotion that they don't have readily available, the pharmacist will mix the compounds to make that specifically for you. So that's an option in your retail pharmacy setting. Now there are specialty pharmacies that do that, and when you think about making mass marketed drugs, like Zoloft and, all those different things that go all across the country, that is going to be at places like Merck, you know, the pharmaceutical companies. There's pharmacists also work at it, you know, so do, you know, biomedical scientists and things like that. So there's definitely a lot of options when it comes to that too. So yeah.
When you're in pharmacy school and if you decide you really love the research aspect of it, you know, there's so many opportunities for you to get involved in research that you could go into industry and be more of a developer. And then going forward with how the Affordable Care Act is changing things, depending on state laws, pharmacists are actually given a lot more responsibility. So now they're able to do basically what primary care physicians do for first checkups. And actually in Walgreens and CVS they'll have checkup rooms. They're able to give, you know, shots and things like that. So as healthcare is changing, there are some more responsibilities for pharmacists. So kind of thinking about that when you're looking into these fields too. I know a lot of pharmacists do consultations about medicine, like when they give you like a briefing about what you should, like when you should eat or like when you should take it. And like if you have a adverse side effect, it's a lot more efficient to go to your pharmacist than it is to go to your doctor's office.
That is just the point. I'm not making sense. Thank you. Yeah, so sometimes when that pharmacist is checking you out, I've had my pharmacist say, oh, I know this is in the material I'm giving you, but I just want you to be aware of this interaction that this drug might have with grapefruit. So if you eat grapefruit, don't eat grapefruit with this drug. And for people that aren't going to read the fine print, that pharmacist is the one giving that information or saying, oh, I see in your file that you're also on this other medication. Has your doctor talked to you about how they might interact? You need to take one in the morning and one in the evening. So they are providing that consultation services, just like you said. Perfect. Yeah.
Can you explain more about what you said, working during holidays? Because that was a main concern for me because I like to spend time with family during holidays and, you know, see family during the weekends and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
sure.
So,
Well, a lot of pharmacies are 24/7, and that's 365 days a year. Hospital pharmacists, same thing. Hospital staff, same thing. Depending on whether you're in private practice versus working in a hospital. If you're on call, depending on how that rotation works out, you could very well be working holidays, weekends, evenings, especially at the start of your career. So depending on where you want to go in healthcare, that's a big piece of it. And this kind of illustrates why we're talking about this. These are things you need to think about beyond what are the basic qualifications of this job. What are your values? What are your work values? Do you want a regular schedule? Are you okay with something a little non-standard? Are you okay with a different type of environment than you might consider? Are you okay standing on your feet? These are those kind of little things that might not seem like a big deal, but down the road could become a deal breaker for you. So that's something definitely to consider. So that's a great point. Yeah.
So what level of education does this require?
The pharmacist?
Yeah.
So you would go to pharmacy school and get a doctor of pharmacy.
And once upon a time, pharmacy school was actually just undergrad. So you just go to undergrad and you
Really?
you're major in pharmacy and be a pharmacist. Now it's changed a little bit where you graduate from undergrad and go to pharmacy school.
Thank you.
I was going to add to what Liam said about how you have to work on holidays sometimes. Usually in the hospital, the way it works at Emory, because my mom works in the hospital, is that you usually have a trade-off. Like, you either work Thanksgiving or Christmas, and if you work one of those, you get the other one off. And usually you can decide if you want to work during the week or during the week and with weekends. So usually they're relatively flexible.
A little flexibility. Great. Thank you for adding to that. Over here and over here.
On average, how long do you go to pharmacy school?
On average,
4 years. There are a couple accelerated programs left, although they're phasing those out for the most part. So you would expect to go to undergrad and then go to pharmacy for 4 years. But if you decide that's kind of a path you want to take, I would encourage you to come meet with one of us because we can kind of show you different schools and different options, talk to you about the prereqs and kind of what you need to do to be more competitive for those schools. But in general, you're looking at about 4 years after you graduate from undergrad. This is kind of like to what Liam said. I have like friends and family who both have parents are pharmacists, and they have much more fixed hours than people who are doctors. Like they have like much closer to standard office hours, like time to come home and do the whole family thing. They always have their holidays. I mean, it just really depends on where you work. Because I just like some of them are like doctors, but some of them have very fixed office hours. Like if you work at a private medicine like, you know, like CVS all the time, but then there are ones that are like specifically pharmacies, and those usually have much more fixed hours than holidays and weekends available. I mean, there's a lot, it's not like you're doomed to be all the time at work, like it's, you have a lot of room for people to.
Great point. Awesome. All right. We want to do one more. All right, we'll do one more. Stand up. Okay. Okay. I want to work with my hands. I can identify and diagnose conditions that may contribute to or cause systemic disease.
That would be learned, right?
Can be learned.
Okay, I was like.
Yeah. When you're in this.
Exactly.
Not right now.
On the airwaves,
Yeah.
there's something wrong with you.
We're born with this sense.
Okay, future. I will work regular hours with little to no work on the weekends or evenings.
That's what's up.
Alright. I work with many small tools throughout the day. I supervise a large staff and run my own business. I make over $200,000 annually.
Well, I get back to the
All that great.
I primarily focus on one area of the body, the teeth and gums.
I knew that's where you were going.
I mean, if you're good with teeth, the gums, the mouth, good.
Oral surgery.
It's a unique field. This is very true. So until we dentist. So sounded pretty good up until that one point. Why? You guys were almost all standing the entire time. Yeah. Thank you.
I just do not like people's mouths.
Fair enough. I mean, you gotta have it. But why do you guys stay standing for so long?
Well, because it all sounded great. Well, I figured out what it
Okay.
actually was. I'm not a dentist, no.
What sounded great about it?
Well, working the time and the time.
Okay. Okay.
No.
All right. Yeah.
I could, even prior to you saying like teeth and gums and mouth, just the thought of specialization, I don't have a broad application
Okay.
rather than, just treat a particular part of the body.
Okay.
I don't like being lied to. When people lie to their dentist a lot. And I would get tired every day. Do you floss? Yeah, I floss. No, you don't. I would get tired of that. If that was my life, I don't know, I would probably lose my mind. Like,
Well,
I would
you
go to
don't
my
get lied
elementary
to every
school,
day.
like, brush your teeth. I didn't lie.
people lie to healthcare professionals all the time, but yes, people do lie to their dentists.
Do you exercise on a regular basis?
At least you hear like multiple different interesting lies if you were a doctor. You do the same lie every day. I floss. No, you don't.
Okay. So yeah, so some things to think about. Lifestyle. How's that going to affect versus what you will actually be doing on a daily basis, what you will be looking at, working with, who you're working with on a daily basis. It's a big reason why we encourage you guys to shadow, to volunteer, which we're going to talk about. Do you like being around sick people? Do you like being around teeth? Most of you don't like being around teeth. We know that. But do you like being around very sick people on a daily basis?
Are we talking like often sick, or are we talking like
Good things to think about. Yeah. Yeah, things to think about. Yeah. All right, yeah, right here. So dentists go to dentist school, similar position. So you're in dental school for 4 years. Some specialize in orthodontics, pediatric dentistry, others do general dentistry, some go to oral surgery, things like that. Just kind of depends on where you want to go.
The main difference between pharmacy school and dental school versus going to medical school is the residency piece. So
So for medical school, you're pretty much required to do a 3 to 6 year residency, depending on what you want to specialize in, and then maybe even a fellowship after that. For dental school and pharmacy school, depending on what you want to do, a lot of students end up practicing right after that 4 years. So thinking about how long you want to be in school for what you want to do and what will make you happy is also kind of what considered too. All right, so I only have 4 slides and a little video. And then if we have time, PHMO is going to give the last half hour, but if we have time, we'll do one more of these. You guys, I'm going to email you this. It has a lot of links in it, so I don't feel like you have to write anything down. So, exploring healthcare careers. And now, we know not all of you guys in here might not be thinking healthcare, so I apologize if you guys are like, no, I don't want to do healthcare, but please come see us because we counsel you in every sort of career that you can imagine. We actually had lion tamer on here that we wanted to do, but for time purposes, we just did healthcare careers. But when thinking about healthcare, you want to think about, do you like to work with people? Are you comfortable with science? So, depending on what you want to go into, like pharmacy is very heavy biology and chemistry, so you want to, have a really big passion and love for science to go into a field like that. Maybe you're good at it or you have a baseline, but it's not what you want to do every day, so there's certainly other careers in healthcare, depending on what you want to do that use more or less science. So kind of thinking about that. Are you comfortable spending time around people who are very ill, terminally ill and disabled? So thinking about your everyday, being around people who are very sick. And sometimes students don't think about that. Is that an environment you want to be in every day? Are you a team player? So healthcare now, with the Affordable Care Act, healthcare is changing. It's becoming very integrative. There are these big companies that are coming in and saying, hey, we don't want just a physician, we want a physician and a physical therapist and a nutritionist all on the same site, and you guys work together with the patient. Or in a hospital setting, you're working with a team of people. So thinking about, are you a team player and do you like this aspect of your career? Are you prepared to keep up with developments in your field? So how often does healthcare change? Pretty much every day, right? So do you like reading about healthcare articles? Do you like staying up on cutting edge technology? That's something that you're going to enjoy doing for the rest of your life, because it doesn't end after, chemistry 101, intro chemistry. It's going to be kind of lifelong learning, and you want to be excited about that as well. Okay? So kind of thinking about these questions. And then how do I get started exploring healthcare careers? You guys know there are over 200 careers in healthcare. There are a ton of different things you can do. Our 2 favorite sites, explorehealthcareers.org, and again, we're going to send this to you. It is phenomenal. It tells you pretty much what kind of school you would need, what your day-to-day, everyday life would be like, what the job outlook is. It talks to you about different areas that you can go into, residencies, things like that, salaries. Really, really great site. There's also a piece in the site it's called Career Inspiration, and it has a whole database of things you can do over the summer or volunteer opportunities or internships. It has links to these that are specifically healthcare oriented. The AMC.org, Aspiring Docs, so this is more geared towards students who are really thinking medical school. You definitely want to become a part of this. It's a student organization, but it's accredited by the AMC. It's phenomenal. It gives you event dates. They have webinars like 3 or 4 times a month. A wealth of information on this site. So I encourage you guys to kind of start going through both of those. The next thing you want to do is not just read everything online. That's a good way to get started, but you want to get in and get your feet wet. So we encourage everyone to do a mix of kind of volunteering and shadowing and informational interviews. It's never too early to get started with this. Typically, volunteering is not that big of a time commitment. It's maybe 3 or 4 hours once a week. And in that time, you're giving back to the community, which is really important, and you're also getting to see kind of how healthcare works. And then from there, getting some more deeper experience, maybe observing a physician or observing a surgeon or observing a PA or a dentist, kind of staying with them throughout the day to see what they do and see what your everyday would be like. So this is important to really make that connection to, hey, I've done all this research online, but let me see what it's really going to feel like when I go in there. Okay? All right, so what clinical opportunities are available at Emory? So you guys are in a really good spot because we have so many opportunities for you guys to get involved in. As first-year students, I recommend volunteering 100% and getting started pretty early. Again, It's only usually 1 day a week for 3 to 4 hours. And there are several different opportunities available. These are links to all the actual applications, so we'll send you this PowerPoint. There's Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, which is Evanston. So if you're thinking, oh, I love to work around children, this might be a good opportunity for you. This one's pretty competitive to get into. They start accepting applications for the fall in August, and the mandatory training is August 26th from 2 to 4. So if you're thinking, I want to try to get into Children's Hospital, you want to make sure you're getting all these dates. If you don't get in the first time in the fall, don't get discouraged because they get a ton of applications. Just keep reapplying each semester and eventually you should be able to get into CHOA. Emory University Hospital, so that's a big hospital on campus. They have an emergency room. I think they have around 300 beds, different departments. They need a lot of volunteers. Great place to work. The Emory Clinic. The Emory Clinic also is over the Orthopedic and Spine Center. So if you're thinking maybe physical therapy or maybe sports medicine, they have some opportunities in the Emory clinics to get involved. Emory Autism Center. So volunteer Emory works with Emory Autism Center. You become basically a teacher, and it's a very integrated approach to patients with autism. Phenomenal place. Winship Cancer Institute, their deadline to apply for fall is August 31st. So if you're thinking, you might want to interact with patients who are going through chemotherapy and try to help them through that and comfort them through that, that's a really good opportunity. The Atlanta VA Medical Center, that's on Clifton Road. It's a little bit more of a walk, but the shuttle goes there. The VA hospital in general is a lot more flexible in terms of hours, so they take a lot of volunteers on the weekends, where some of the other places don't. Really great place to work. Wesley Woods is our geriatric center. They have live-in patients, they have an outpatient center, a lot of different ways to get involved, doing activities with the patients, transportation, things like that, so that's a really good place. Anyone interested in dental school? So unfortunately on campus we have oral surgeons that you can shadow that we can help you get connected with. But as far as volunteering, the Ben Estelle Dental Clinic is phenomenal. Our pre-dental club coordinates transportation for this, and most of them volunteer with the Ben Estelle Clinic. It is a free clinic, so you get to see a lot of rural areas and underserved medically patients. It's a great experience, and again, you want to get involved with the pre-dental club because they coordinate transportation for that. There is the Grady Hospital program. Now Grady's not on campus, but we have a shuttle that goes right to Grady. Grady is a Trauma 1 hospital, which is pretty exciting to see if you've never seen Trauma 1. So they do let you volunteer in the emergency room. It's a phenomenal program. We have several students that are working on the Grady project right now, which is really fascinating. So if you like trauma, you think emergency medicine, Grady is a really great place to volunteer. Emory University Midtown, again, we have a shuttle that goes to that. It's in Midtown, it's not on campus, but there is a shuttle. Sometimes if you can't get in on Emory, there's so many students here. If you're willing to kind of take a bus Saturday morning, sometimes it's a little bit easier to get into one of these places because there's not so many students over there. And then shadowing and observing, through the Career Center, we work with a couple different programs to get you in shadowing. One is with a surgeon, so you get to sit in and shadow surgeries, and you get to sit in with an anesthesiologist. For this program, we require you to have 100 volunteer hours, and we require you to come meet with us to get the paperwork to get in there. So after you have that volunteering, if you feel like you want to do some more shadowing and you're having trouble finding places, come see us because we can help you guys get that shadowing experience. Yes?
When you say that we need to have at least 100 hours of volunteering experience, could it count like the hours that we had in high school? Does that?
We, at this time, want you to have 100 hours within Emory Healthcare or within a clinic in Atlanta. So they would be college volunteer hours. And that's good anyway because you really want a good mix of that. And it'll give you some experience as a college student to really know what you're going to get into before you get into the surgery room. We've had students who, it's pretty crazy standing for surgery for 7 hours. So we want to make sure you guys are ready for that and getting that volunteer experience. We're really happy to get ready for that. So again, if you're having trouble finding volunteer experience and you really want to do this, come see us because we'll help you guys out with that.
Do you think it would be easier to get into one of these competitive programs if we volunteered at hospitals in the past?
With these programs, they're not really screening you versus like competitiveness wise. It's more the sheer number of applications. So sometimes they'll look at seniors at Emory who haven't had anything yet because they're about getting ready to graduate. sometimes they'll just give it to them, they can do that back 4 years. So it's really just kind of numbers of applications. So that's why I encourage you, if you don't get in the first semester, just keep applying. I have not had a student not be able to find a volunteer opportunity. So it's sometimes you just have to keep, apply to everything and anything and then see what you get. And if you really wanted to get into CHOA but you didn't get in that first semester, just keep applying. They will eventually get you in there, okay? For CHOA, there is Eggleston, but there's also 2 more hospitals in Atlanta. So if you have transportation, you could go to the other hospitals as well. So there's not just Eggleston.
I'm going to Oxford in the fall. Would I be able to volunteer at the Cancer Institute on the weekends?
Yeah, you certainly can, if you can get transportation. Also at Oxford, is anyone else going to Oxford? There is a pre-health club that is phenomenal at Oxford, and they have a clinic a couple miles away that they all volunteer at, and they coordinate transportation as well. So I'm blanking on the name of the clinic, but I'll put it in this PowerPoint and send it to you guys so you have the link. But they're a pretty good club out there, so get involved in that. Volunteer Emory is another one. They have weekly service trips. There's a couple of them that are more healthcare related. But this is something that's not, you have to commit to every week. Maybe you're less busy one week and you want to jump in on a volunteer trip. They have transportation and everything, so look at Volunteer Emory. And then your pre-health student organizations, I think we have over 30 that are more healthcare related. A lot of them coordinate their own free clinics, or they'll do patient screenings. They work directly with physicians to get events going. So kind of explore what's out there and maybe see if one of these student clubs would be a good fit for what you're interested in as well. I have a short little video. I volunteer at CHOA and it's very dear to me, so it's just 2 minutes. I kind of wanted to give you guys a glimpse of what volunteering is like, and then pass it over to PHMO.
Give something back to someone.
I feel like I can help make a difference. Volunteers are fun, energetic, chipper people who like to see you smile, so they do different things to help you out.
They make children happy and play games and tell stories.
I like when they bring crafts into your rooms that involve like glue and like beads and stuff, whatever they find that you can just make. It's a lot of fun.
They play.
I'll go up to day surgery and find out if there are children who are getting ready for surgery, and then maybe help their time go by quicker.
She sees a volunteer, she sees the brown apron, she's like, I'm going to get to play. They work at the bedside with the child. They'll read, they'll play games, they'll watch videos. They work in the schoolroom and help with the school lessons for the kids who are missing their time in the classroom. They work in the gift shop, helping to pick out that all-important gift. They escort people. They give them information at the information desk. So many things that help make a visit to children's much more comfortable.
They're there for you. They're not there because they have to be. They want to make you happy because they know it's not fun being in the hospital.
Probably because they care for you or feel bad while you're in your time of need.
Because I like playing with children. To help see children and be happy.
I feel my greatest reward that I receive from volunteering is just knowing that I somehow impacted a child's life.
It's fun to see a child smile, or you're making them feel better when they're here because they usually don't feel that.
Every time I come to volunteer, I believe that I go home with something special in my heart.
I've done something to make someone feel good, to make a child smile, and to help a parent feel that someone is out there to help them.
There's always a great deal of satisfaction of being able to give to somebody to whom you know is not going to be able to give anything back to you.
I get rewards that can't be measured when I volunteer. As a volunteer, maybe I've made a little bit of a difference.
I can tell you all of the volunteer experiences within Emory Healthcare in Atlanta are just like that. They're phenomenal. Again, it's a good way to get experience to make sure this is what you want to do, but also really give back to these patients who really need your help. So I encourage you guys to get involved. Come see us if you need help volunteering or chat. or exploring kind of any career or career.
Thank you.
They're going to be 2 minutes.
Okay, so the good news is that this is a short presentation as well, and the Career Center stuff that we would too, which is great because the things that we're telling you, you're going to hear again and again and again, and we don't think that you can hear them too many times. You'll also hear a lot from us, it depends. It depends. And so getting used to knowing that it's good to have a plan and to be flexible, and that things depend really based on your values, like Sarah and Leanna talked about, your experiences, the things that you're going to start learning once you start college and volunteering and shadowing. Things might change, and that's okay too. So again, good to have a plan, good to be flexible at the same time. My name is Dean Sherry Obrent. I'm the Dean of the sophomore class, actually in the College of Arts and Sciences, so stick around a few more years and you'll be my class. I'm also the director of the Pre-Health Mentoring Office, and we're really the academic advising unit for pre-health students. And work with the Career Center. There are 2 handouts going around, so just make sure you have one of each. Thank you. With my colleague Danny Lockard here, and today we're going to go through a few things. How many of you listened in on our webinar on Thursday? Okay. For those of you who didn't, we specifically talked about kind of how to get started on your class schedule. So as an academic advising unit, you guys are all going to get faculty advisors. Have you already been assigned your PACE advisors yet? Have you heard about that? No. Okay, so don't worry about it. It'll be in a few weeks. But you do start registering when? 29th, coming up just next week. And so if you have a lot of questions, or if you're thinking, I'm still not sure about a few things, you can go back, you can re-listen to those webinars. There was one about general academic advising that the OEB advisors gave, I think, on Wednesday, and then Danny actually hosted one on Thursday, and I answered questions. You can go back through those as well. So the goal of our office, the Pre-Health Mentoring Office, we have 4 big goals. One, to encourage you to explore health professions. So Sarah and Leanna just gave you a great exercise. And the reason why we encourage that as well, it's our first goal in our office, is because we love that you have an idea of what you want to do. And like I said, things are going to change along the way with your experiences, with who you meet, with who you interact with. So it does not hurt to explore. The other really big reason why we encourage this so much is that healthcare, and again, how many of you are interested in professions in healthcare? Almost all of you. It's very interdisciplinary. So even if you go, I know 100% I'm going to be a dentist. One in the room, right? One dentist in the room. 100% going to be a dentist. It is going to be interdisciplinary. There's a good chance you're going to be working with doctors and nurses and maybe a physical therapist or a social worker or somebody else in the healthcare field too. So exploring what you're really interested in is great because it gets you excited and yeah, that really fits with what I want. But exploring what other people might be doing as well helps you become knowledgeable about the healthcare field. So we never want you to stop exploring. The second thing our office does is we help you make your academic and your extracurricular plans while you're here at Emory. Because there's a lot to do in order for you to get ready to apply to that next step. I know you're just getting started, or you're just starting. And so again, we help kind of make those plans. Planning depends. It's going to depend on what your career goals are and what healthcare professional schools you want to go to. It's going to depend on the classes that you take. It's going to depend on the order. You might have something and you go, this is going to be great. I have my perfect schedule. When you go to Fuse, you're going to make a 5-year plan. It's going to be perfect, perfectly written out, everything, dotted I's and crossed T's, and then you take that first semester and you discover art history and you go, oh my gosh, this is the new love of my life. What am I going to do with my plan? And that's okay. So again, it's good to have plans, but it's good to be flexible, and we're there to review those academic and the extracurricular plans. One of the things that Leanna and Sarah shared was getting involved in extracurricular activities from the beginning. We encourage that too. We want you to do that. Sometimes we find that first-year students are so eager to try everything in the very first semester that other things fall to the wayside, especially your academics. So we want to encourage you to make a balanced, or have a balanced schedule, take a balanced approach to this, and we can help with that. We do provide information and resources to help you get ready for those next steps. A lot of the links that we share are similar. It's good for sharing. We know that these are really good links. So hopefully if you hear about Explore Health Careers 10 times, you'll actually go click on it. I can't tell you how many students come into our office and go, have you heard about this? Yeah. Have you looked at it? No. So one of the homework assignments that we have for you is to actually bookmark these websites and start looking through them before you even come talk to us. And finally, we help get you ready to apply to the health professional school. So those are our 4 goals. Again, I'm Dean Obrens. This is Danny Lockhart. We have a program coordinator in our office, Margaret, too, who helps with scheduling. All right, so I'll take it over to Katrina.
So a lot of this Leanna kind of already reviewed, but if you're interested in healthcare, these are kind of some things you want to be thinking about to really validate if this is really a good fit for you. So we can skip over this since Leanna kind of already talked about it, but we want to kind of get to know you, which we've also kind of done a little bit today, but that's okay. So if you're interested in medicine, raise your hand if you're thinking medicine. Okay, if you're interested in maybe pharmacy, I know there weren't very many in here at all.
So you can raise your hand more than once too.
Yeah, if you're kind of thinking about it, it's okay to raise your hand. Dentistry, I know we have 1. What about veterinary medicine? Anybody interested in veterinary medicine? Potentially, maybe.
It could happen.
It could happen. What about occupational therapy? Maybe, okay. Physical therapy? We wanted to kind of get a feel for the room and see what everybody was interested in. So now we're going to talk a little bit about holistic development. So we've kind of focused on the end goal of what your plans are after Emory, but let's talk a little bit about your time here at Emory and kind of what's going to make you a competitive candidate for when you're ready to apply to a healthcare professional school or even just a general graduate school program. These are kind of some things to help make you competitive. What does holistic mean? Does anybody know? I'll give you a good definition for holistic. Yeah.
It means focusing on the whole part rather than just individual parts.
Right, so you can almost see that word whole in the word holistic. So really developing the whole person. So these are some things we want you to kind of start thinking about as you're developing your holistic development during your time here at Emory. So your academics, community and public service, your medically related experiences, research, and maybe some other clubs or organizations that you might be interested in as well. As an admissions committee who's looking at your application whenever you're ready to apply, why do you think that they would value community and public service? Why is that something that's important as a healthcare professional, or even for a graduate school program that's maybe not related to the health professions?
Shows that you're personable and you can get on with people.
Anything else that you need to add to that? Yeah.
It shows that you know how to and enjoy applying your knowledge.
Good. Anything else? When you serve others, what are you doing? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's just, I think it shows like a genuine passion, you know, and really
Passion for
helping people.
Good. What about medically related experiences? Why would they think that that's important? Yeah.
Because you gain exposure to the type of environment you're already going to be in, so you want to be comfortable in your environment.
Right, exactly. Do they have anything to add to that? Right, so we talked a lot about how to get these types of experiences, but really why there's a reason behind why we're encouraging you to get involved in these experiences. For medicine, for example, if you're not comfortable being around blood, or if you go to see one of those surgeries that Leanna mentions and you think this is not for me, then that's a good time for you to explore that is now, to really get you in those settings to see if this is really a good fit for you. And you might find something that's out there that you weren't even aware of through your medically related experiences. What about research? Why do you think research is important? It's something we want you to try to get some exposure to during your time here at Emory.
They want to see how you deal with up and coming information in the medical field.
Good. What else does research teach you?
Yeah, it requires so much detail that if you really, if you can do it well, then it shows an attention for specificity.
Do you have anything to add to that?
It shows that you can work in a team.
Good. Excellent. As we talked about medicine and health in general being multidisciplinary.
Another research question. Do we always know what the answer to our research questions are at the beginning? No, so why do we do research? Yeah.
For the experience.
Experience, yeah. What else? What's the purpose of having a research project?
To find out what their answer is.
To actually dig into the answers. And what's the second thing we do? We come up with a question, and then what do we do? Think back to any of your lab classes. We have a research question, and then we make an educated guess called a, right, is our hypothesis always somewhere to start, exactly, forming an opinion, good. And then what's the next thing that we do in research? Methods, structures, we actually do something, we test things out, and then what do we do?
Test the results.
We observe, okay, after we observe, what do we do?
Conclude.
Conclude, find
Share
the results,
data.
conclude. And when we come to our conclusions, is it done? Research done, try to meet them, never look at it again?
No, you send it off to so that everyone can try to recreate your results to see if someone else gets the
That's
same.
one thing that we do. What else could happen with research? Would we ever do it all over again? Same question? Yeah. And are we gonna have the exact same results and the same, observations the next time? Maybe, maybe not. So, the research process, and research is not required for any of these unless you want to do a new PhD. We'll talk about that later. But the reason why research is on this list is something, if you're interested in to go, is because it's going to teach you those types of skills, like you said, teamwork and detail orientation, but really thinking through a problem holistically too. And how might that relate to any of the fields you have in healthcare that you're interested in? How does that parallel at all?
You can't just look at a patient's ailment, you have to look at their humanity as well, so you're taking an all-encompassing approach.
And do patients usually come into the doctor and say, I've been on WebMD, I know exactly what's happening, I know everything, I've done this observation notebook review, here it is, I've come up with my own conclusions and results, so I just want to make sure that this is all right. Is that what happens? Sometimes, a few of you, now with WebMD maybe, but typically not. So again, learning kind of the research process and research skills is really applicable to any of the healthcare fields because it's teaching you how to think through a problem, ask different kinds of questions, and do we always get the results that we want? No. So it's kind of getting familiar with that process too. Okay.
I'll let you want to talk a little bit
Sure.
about this?
So holistic development, we kind of gave a pie, a circle, just because it looks pretty up here, but it's the whole you. So think of you as your whole person and all these different things. These are just 4 categories that we tend to focus on, especially when you're ready to apply. It's what the healthcare professional schools have kind of asked us to highlight. But the pie is going to look different with everybody. So instead of looking at it as a pie, we've given a few different graphic representations of what you could look like over your 4 years. So maybe in your first year, you go, I'm just so nervous about chemistry and biology and all these classes together. You focus 100% on academics. And you do really well, and that's great. But it means that you haven't really started your community service, and maybe you didn't want to do research or weren't interested in it yet, and you didn't join any clubs. And that's okay for that first year too. And maybe then the next year you decide, all right, let's balance it out. I know my academics are strong, I have a good foundation. It's time for me to ramp up some of these other activities. And by the 3rd year, you have a really good foundation with those academics, and now you're a leader in one of those clubs, or you love volunteering and it shows so much you're going to do it 2 times a week. And you got invited to do this special research project with one of your sociology professors, and you're going to continue it on. So it adds a little bit, and by your 4th year, you're kind of evened out. Maybe you don't do as much research, your project's done, but you're really skyrocketing. You're now the president of the club that you volunteered for just for a few hours in that first year. So that's one way you can span. Another way holistic development can come is maybe you are so excited to do everything else. You've joined an a cappella group. Any varsity athletes here? Any athletes? You're on the team, you're spending 20 hours a week practicing. Amazing, all sorts of good. But maybe the academics don't get off to either the start that you want, and that's okay, or maybe you just didn't take as many of the classes that you want. And so in the 2nd year, you kind of readjust those goals, readjust your time a little bit too. So really, there is no right or wrong in this holistic development. You are all going to look different. I hope that you continue to all look different. It makes it interesting for us. There's not a checklist. There's not a race to kind of finish this. But the it depends part about your holistic development really depends on what your eventual career path is going to be. And some of them might have more strict requirements in some of these areas than others. But that career goal or that end path is going to change because you're experiencing all these other things and you're going to get involved in different clubs and you might go down this path and then come back. And so we can't map it out perfectly. That would be boring anyway. I don't want to do that. But knowing that we are going to help encourage you. And if you're light in one area or you're interested in starting another area, then we can help talk to you too about making sure that you're balancing out for whatever the right mixture is for you. Okay, so little time management. We're going to get you started on this, but we'll have you finish it at home. So we're going to give you all a plate. We we want you to divide the plate into two. This was my blue dividing line, okay? So thinking about kind of the holistic development, we gave you 4 categories, but you can do your high school. High school is going to be high school self, which we are going, yay, high school got you to here, but you're not starting over. We're all starting over, yay. And draw a line in the middle, and then below the half the line is going to be your college year. So I want you to take 2 minutes and just kind of divide the half plate, make sure this half one is all of you, and where you think your time went in high school, right? Between your academics, your extracurriculars, maybe spending time with your family, maybe you had a job. Some of you are working when you get to okay. So think about all those things. This should be pretty easy to do because you know yourself and you know what you've been doing the last 4 years. You just got rid of them, finished doing all of your high school resumes and applying, so fill that up, okay? Take 2 minutes just to do that. And if you have no idea where your time went for the last 4 years, you can do a big question mark, that's okay.
A big question. So, what dividing line above it is high school on high school, below it is college.
How many of you are scrapbookers? You like to collect things, you have a box, like a shoebox with all your collectibles? Okay. So you're going to keep this plate for the next 4 years, and we're going to come back to this and reflect. No. All right. So you guys you're getting pretty good at what you did in high school, where your time went. You need a second more? How evenly distributed was your time? Was it very regimented? Do you know where all your time went? Video games. I know you guys don't watch TV anymore. This was funny. A few years ago, I used to do time management presentations, and I had, how much time do you watch TV? And students kept writing 0 hours, 0 hours. And I thought, I'm not that old. What, did everybody stop watching TV? And then people said, well, I watch shows on my computer, so I don't watch TV, I watch the computer. And I thought, all right. So we changed it. How much time you spend on Hulu or Apple TV or anything? Okay, so once you're done kind of documenting where you know you've been, now I want you to look at the bottom half of the plate and think about where you think, because you don't know yet for sure, you're going to spend your time in just your first year. Okay? Because remember, this holistic development takes time. Rome was not built in a day. You are not going to become your whole holistic best self in 1 year or 1 semester. So think about it. So if academics are a true priority for you and you know that's where you're going to spend most of your time, think about it. If you think, I'm pretty well suited for this and I want to make sure I'm only studying 40 hours a week, that's okay too. If volunteering is something that you're really interested in, how much of that time? Leanna had said, you know, if you're in a clinical setting, that might only be 3 or 4 hours a week. Is that a good time? If you're an athlete, how much time are you going to be spending practicing a week? If there's a club, or any singers in the group? 9,000 a cappella, singing, orchestra. Anybody play an instrument? Okay, good. So think about those types of things. And are you going to carry over some of those activities? I know I swam in high school. I never got in the pool again in college.
Same. I don't think I'm gonna swim.
All right. So all that time, look, swimming. This was my high school one. Yeah. Not down here at the bottom. Exactly. Good. So it's okay. One of the things with the exploration, and as you guys go through orientation, that very first week, we really think of orientation as there's the orientation program. You know, when your parents come, you get dropped off, you get your classes, all that. But really, orientation to Emory takes a little bit of time, at least that first semester, if not your full year, the first full year. And so as you are exploring these new opportunities, a club, you know, something that you've never heard of or tried before, classes that you never even knew existed, that are going to blow your mind, that's okay too. So you can keep working on these plate activities. I know we're running out of time here, but this is just a fun little way to think, where's my time going to shift a little bit? And if you don't want to bring your plates back into us and go, does this look like I'm doing too much? The answer probably is yes. And we'll help you kind of pare it down a little bit too. Okay, so a few things. We gave you 2 handouts. One is a health professions handout that has, I think, 17 or 18 different health professions. A lot of them, all of them, on explorehealthcareers.org. And again, this is just to get your vocabulary kind of acclimated to what it means to be pre-health or interested in healthcare. I know many of you are interested in medicine, and that's okay. So medicine is on there, actually twice, allopathic and osteopathic. Your first homework assignment is reading through and getting to know what the difference between it is. How many of you want to be an MD? Okay. How many of you are interested in being a DO? Yeah. Who of the rest of you knows what a DO is? Right. Homework assignment. Go look up the difference between allopathic and osteopathic medicine, just so you know the right vocabulary. Registering with our website is good too. We don't have your email yet, so the easiest thing to do is go to freehealth.emory.edu and click register. It takes about 2 minutes with your name and your email. That way you're getting our announcements and our emails straight off the bat. Explore Health Careers, you've seen that, and Inspiring Docs, really for the pre-med students in here. 2 great websites that you should be bookmarking today. And on rainy days like today, great activity, great thing to peruse through instead of maybe getting at this. A few other things on your to-do list. The other handout that we gave you that actually has glue. We've talked a little bit about course selection on here, holistic development. This is what we want you to focus on, the questions to think about before orientation. The reason why glue, and then how many of you are coming back confused? The reason these programs are so great is that you're already getting a head start of what you should be thinking about. It's not that you have to start any of these activities. You can't start them yet. You can start thinking about them now, and that's what we want you to get prepared to do so that we can have really good conversations when we come and ask us advice about class selection or activities and things like that. We just had our pre-health webinar about class selection. Go back and listen to it if you have questions. Your registration does open next week. You're only allowed to register for how many classes? 2, up to 8 credits, right? Do not panic. What did I just say? Do not panic if you do not get your first choice, or if you don't think it's the perfect schedule. You're going to have a second enrollment appointment when everybody comes to campus, and then you have a whole extra week called Add Drop Swap where you're going to be playing around with your schedules, okay? So come to our orientation session. We're going to talk more specifically about the classes that you should be taking. The reason why doing your free homework about looking through some of these professions and going, oh, that might be interesting is helpful is because when you go to our website and you click on the professions, there's an academic planning section for each one. And that way, if you know, okay, I'm thinking about medicine and PT and pharmacy, oh, whoa, those actually all have about 2 or 3 classes in common, so you know where to start. So we can't advise in a vacuum. The good thing is that most of these prerequisites actually coincide, or they're pretty similar. Until we get to the specifics, and we don't need to know the specifics quite yet. We're also doing special advising sessions for first-year students the first week of classes. So you're going to get your schedules or finish your schedules, I think, on Tuesday the 26th of August, somewhere around there. The first day of classes is when? Okay, Wednesday the 27th. We always start in the middle of the week, not quite sure why. And you get to go to class for 3 whole days and have Labor Day off. But that first week, on the 27th, 28th, and 29th, we're going to be in a few multi-purpose rooms. So in a first-year residence hall, and we're going to allow you guys to sign up in groups of either 30 or 40, so that we can actually look over your academic plans. It'll be much more activity-based. You'll already have some schedules so that we can look that over. Because what was the very first thing I told you? The catchphrase you're going to hear all the time. It depends. Right, so I could open the floor to questions now, and you're going to go, well, should I take biology and chemistry together? And I'm going to say, well, it depends. And I might have a different answer for you and a different answer for you. Or you might say, well, which social science class should I take? I have to do it right now. And I'm going to say, it depends, right? And you're going to say, but how many classes is enough? And I'm going to say, it depends, right? Because all of this depends on your background, your preparation, your interests, what's going on, you know, what's available, what classes are open and closed, it all depends. And so we're going to help navigate that first week of classes. Okay? So we've actually already sent this to Drew. All of these things you have as well. You have your handouts with your kind of homework assignment, your checklist. It's really not too much. It's a lot more exploration and thinking homework, not so much doing homework. But we're excited that you guys are here, excited to work with you throughout the first semester and the next 4 years. So welcome.